Welcome to Nightmares Before Bed, a supernatural podcast where each show will explore dark and mysterious places, eerie creatures, and all things spooky and creepy. And speaking of spooky and creepy, please help me welcome your hosts Jonathan Rosen and Troy Cannon.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Nightmares Before Bed. I'm Jonathan Rosen along with Troy Cannon, and we have a creepy one today. Actually, this is your choice, so I'm going to let you introduce it. But I found this one to be pretty creepy. So go ahead, take it away.
This one is exceptionally creepy for me because it is a hallway that I have walked down before.
Well, say what it is. What are we discussing today?
It is the shadow people.
Okay.
The shadow people are the little things you see, the movement and the people that you see in the corner of your eye. You're positive there's a thing there, but when you turn to look at them, looking at them directly, almost always they disappear, but unfortunately not always. Usually, but not always. I remember talking to you. We talked one time and we talked about how it's more realistic to believe things if they have a history. Especially if in this particular country, if they have a history of Native American origin.
Which is like almost every week that we come across.
They run it almost all the time. And this one actually starts even before the Native American. And even though you've got say, the Loch Ness Monster in some regions, and Ogopogo in other regions, and Champ in other regions, and you've got Bigfoot in some regions, and you've got, whatever name he is in another place. They've got him everywhere, Sasquatch and all that kind of stuff. This particular entity, is everywhere, and everybody pretty much describes it exactly the same way. Different nations, different religions, different time periods. These dudes pop up everywhere. So scientifically, they try to say that it is because of maybe lack of sleep, sleep deprivation or something like that, and you're just hallucinating. But everybody, regardless of where you are in the world, regardless of where you are in a particular time period, they're all seeing the same thing. Essentially, there are three different shadow people that people see. They see a mist, kind of a fog type thing that is just a mist type shadow that's moving around, or they see an actual person with a torso, a head, and arms, sometimes even legs. Then, there's four. Then they see one called the old hag, which is what we would consider an elderly, old type witch-looking woman. The most popular one, the one that people see all of the time, is called the Hat Man.
That's the one that creeps me out the most.
He is a terror. Traditionally, he's really, really tall, slender, and he's wearing a hat.
Which is where the Slender Man comes from, the whole myth. Right. So
the Slender Man comes from this, and depending on where you are in the world, that hat is either a fedora or it's some other hat indigenous to that region with a large brim. Whatever region has a particular hat like that, that's what they see. So people in Mexico, people in Spain, people in Europe, people in the West End of the Bronx, they're all seeing a similar hat, but it's indigenous to that area. And like you said, the Slender Man comes from this. So does, when I was a kid, they had a movie with a guy called The Tall Man, and he was in a movie called, I'll remember it in a second, but there was a Tall Man. He comes from this, and then so does Wes Craven, the movie director. was scared of this. He had visions of this too, which led him to create his own dream-styled dude in a hat that killed people at night. And he created Freddy Krueger from his dreams about the Hat Man. And I personally have had my own encounters with shadow people, a bunch of them, even in this very house that I'm in right now.
That's one of the things that I've talked to you about just this week, because I don't think I could ever stay with you. Because you mentioned before, like you see little things in the house and you see like, ghosts and other things. I don't think I could be a visitor in your house anymore. But so what are your experiences with them before we go on?
When I was little, I was born in Jersey. From Jersey, I moved to Ohio. I lived in Ohio for like 2 years, but I would always go back to Jersey for the summer. The first time I had an encounter with a shadow person, I was at my aunt's house, and she had a big house. She had a bunch of rooms, and when I would stay there, my brother and I would have our own room. So he had his own bed, I had my own bed. We'd go to sleep, and she'd close the door. At my mom's house, she always left the door open. So if I got up, I could walk right into the hallway and, into her room if I was scared or whatever. So my aunt said, no, we closed the doors here. And she closed the door. I did not like that because it was complete darkness. And I would hear my brother say stuff like, "Are you awake?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, but be quiet. I don't know what else is in the room." We were kids. We were scared. And the first time the door opened and it woke me because I was asleep. And when the door opened, because my head was like right by the door, I looked up just a little bit, realized the door was open. There was light coming through the door. And I saw a person enter the room, and then the door closed. The person that entered the room was darker than the darkness in the room. And even though it was fairly dark, I could still see the outline, not because there was light making the outline. It was just because it was darker than the darkness in the room. So I laid there and I'm looking and I'm thinking, well, that's one of my older cousins or my aunt or somebody. And they just stood there and they didn't say anything. So I didn't say anything. So I slowly pulled the cover over my head because I didn't know what was going on. Again, I was a kid. I was a little kid. And I moved the cover and they were gone. Now, I stayed the summer at my aunt's house, so that happened several times. And this is why I said at the beginning, sometimes they're gone if you look directly at them, and sometimes, unfortunately, they're not. Because sometimes, almost every night, that happened. And I even asked my aunt and my cousins, and they were like, "Ain't nobody in your room. Boy, go to bed." So, they brushed it off. But it happened almost every night. Some nights I'd cover my head and then move the sheet and they were gone. Some nights I'd cover my head, move the sheet, and they were still just standing there. A couple times.
With a face?
With a head. I couldn't really see eyes or detail, but I could see a head and shoulders.
Okay.
And it was a head and it was shoulders, and the shoulders just drifted into the darkness. So I didn't see the bottom of the torso. Then one night I moved the sheet and it was like right. I yelled, I screamed, I got up, I ran to the door. I'm fumbling with the knob, trying to get the door open. And I opened the door, and my aunt and my cousins are running down. And that scared me more because I knew it wasn't them trying to scare me, because my two older cousins and my aunt were coming down the hallway. So I was like, well, how? I had just a moment of clarity. And I'm like, well, how are they coming down the hallway if they're in the room trying to scare me? And that freaked me out. I slept with the lights on the rest of the time.
Now, do you still see things like now?
3 days ago.
Oh, there we go.
72 hours ago, I was in the bed, sleeping. You know how you're in and out of sleep, and you're laying there, and you can kind of hear the TV in the background, but you're kind of on an island with Gilligan and a bunch of other people trying to figure out how to get out. You're doing both of those things at the same time. So I was in and out of sleep, and I felt someone touch my shoulder. So I figured it's my son, because sometimes, he gets up, he comes in the room, and he's like, Dad, I'm sleeping here. So he comes in the room with me. So I felt the tap. I didn't even look because I just knew it was him. It had to be him. So I'm laying there and I feel the tap, and I'm like, go to sleep, because I'm tired, and I'm just, I'm giving him the okay, go to sleep, man. And then I feel a tap on my shoulder again. So now I'm like, okay, he must want something to eat or drink or whatever. Let me sit up. So I sat up, I yawn, I get my glasses, put my specs on, because I can't see without my glasses. Put my specs on, and I sit there on the edge of the bed, and then I feel a tap again, as if it's like, they turn around. And I turn around, I'm wide awake now. I can see the television. I can see what's on TV and everything. I'm completely awake. I turn around and I look, and there's no one in the room.
You
But
felt
the
it up.
tapping on my shoulder woke me up. So
You
I
already
was
up.
like,
Second time you felt this tap, you were already up at that point.
yeah. The final time, the
Right.
third time I felt the tap, I was awake. I had my glasses on and everything, and I'm just sitting there on the edge of the bed, thinking, man, I got to get up and walk down the stairs, turn on the lights on. I got to make something for this kid to eat or to drink or whatever. Walk him to the bed. I don't know what's going on. And I turn around, there's nobody in the room. No, this was 3 days ago. And I'll tell you, there was maybe 8 months ago. My son is he climbed in the bed. He's in the bed with me. I'm asleep. He's moving around. So I turn over. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm scared. And I was like, what's the matter? And he's like, there's people in the room. And I sat up real quick, because I'm a rugged prototype of manhood. If there's someone in the room, they have made a big error by coming into this particular room. Um, so I jump up, and I'm like, what do you mean? And I open the closet and everything, and he's like, they're gone. And I was like, wait a minute, who? And now I'm more awake, and I'm like, wait, who's gone? And he said, those people. And I kid you not. I'm like, what people? And he said that he was asleep, and he rolled over, and he saw three people standing next to the bed looking at me. They were just staring at me in the room. And he saw them, and he covered his face up, and he just laid there. And he was too scared to try to wake me at first. And he was too scared to even try to get up and run. He just sat there, and he said that they were people, but they were basically like the outlines of people, which is what scared him. If they were, intruders, he'd have been like, Dad, wake up. But they didn't look right. So now, and he says he sees them in the hallway every once in a while. So to this day, he runs out of his room to get to the stairs. It's only like 3 steps, but he runs out of his room and jumps to the stairwell, clicks the lights on, and he runs downstairs, daytime or night, because he says the people are in the hallway. He says he doesn't see them downstairs. He doesn't see them in the bathroom or whatever, but they're floating around in the hallway, and sometimes they're in my bedroom. One last quick story.
Yes.
Me and my wife, we're military folks, so we travel all of the time.
Right.
We were in Virginia. We were in Virginia, near the Pentagon, kind of sort of near the Pentagon. And so we were in there one day, and we're watching TV. We're watching this show, and I'm sure it had no relevance on what happened, but we're watching this show called Evil, where they do like,
that's a creepy show.
You've seen the show? Okay.
Yes.
We're watching Evil, and we're sitting there, and we're just watching it and everything. And she's like, hey, you want to go get something to eat? The kids are in school. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And while we're talking, we hear a boom. I mean, like a car had run into the building. It was loud, boom. And I was like, did you hear that? And she said, nope. And I was like, you had to have heard that. And she's like, go down there and see what it is. And I was like, well, you're not coming down there? And she's like, nope. Through the years, when we were originally married, I told her, I have had paranormal experiences since I was 5, maybe. It's just it never stops.
It's what she
And
said.
she's like, I don't believe that. So things have been happening. Like when we were in Hawaii, I was in the living room one day. She came out of the bedroom, walking down the hallway, and she said there was a shadow figure standing in the hallway between where I was and between where she was coming from.
She
She
said
walked out of
that
the
she saw this.
Yeah, she told me this. She came out and she saw somebody. She screamed. She had a basket. She dropped the basket, ran back into the bedroom, and slammed the door. So I get up, rugged prototype of manhood, and I'm running down the hallway to see what's going on. There's nobody in the hallway, but she says she saw somebody standing there. Now that's happened at least 3 or 4 times. And now, instead of saying, I understand, she's like, I blame you. This is happening because of you. These things are following
I agree
you.
with her.
So when we heard that boom, she figured it was just more of that stuff. And she said she wasn't going down there to see what was going on. And I went down there. There was nothing. There was nobody hit the wall. I even went to, because we were in a what do you call it, the duplex, where your neighbor's house is connected to your house. So I even went to the neighbor to see if maybe she had run her car into the wall or something, and she was taking a nap on her couch. She said, "No, I didn't hear anything," but it was clear. We both, the both of us, had heard it. So with people being in the house with me, my brother experienced stuff when he stayed with me for a little while. People being in my vicinity, it happens to them too.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Because you being, let's say, a magnet for this type of stuff, if people around you experience it as well. So you're just saying yes, they do, which goes back again, which I don't think I could ever stay with you. I don't think I could ever, unless you're telling me this on purpose to get me not to. But I don't think I want to be like so close. I think maybe this is good that we're doing this via Zoom instead of the same house. But yeah, this is all a creepy one. It's even creepier that you've experienced this stuff. And we all see like little things out of the corner of our eye, like shadow. Is there someone there or not?
Yeah.
And but like all these like shadowy figures, like sometimes in the house too, like you stay. What is that? You turn quickly, and that you've seen like full outlines. That's creepy as hell to me. That I would have to move. I don't. But it's not even a question of moving because it's you. What is the purpose of the shadow people? That's one of the things there too. Because I've read all these different things. I've read the same things. Like during the week, I read about it's a lot of it's Native American like folklore and stuff. I've been watching videos, that there was like this. It came from the myth or something came from this French killer. I don't know if you saw that he put on a mask and he went into people's homes at night and he wiped out like this 11 people in one house, and it sort of came from that a little bit too. And I don't know if you've seen this. I saw a short like on this Shadow Man thing. Like it was like a 2-minute, maybe 3-minute short even, where it's just like people walking and they turn, they look behind them and they see like a shadow person way down, and then it's like gone, and like every time they like turn, it seems like it's closer there too, and then they it's gone again until it's like right on top of them. It couldn't have been more than a 3 to 5 minute little short, and it was so creepy, just at 3 to 5 minutes, because it was. I have to find it to give proper credit, but it was, and that type of thing is frightening because when you see like a dark figure outline, no face to it, no, and even some guess the hat without the hat, but most of the times it was the person with the hat, like you said. But that is just terrifying sometimes, even without a face. I don't know what's scarier, with a face or without a face, but just to see like a darkness, a void in the shape of a person following you. That is terribly creepy. And yeah, I saw about the same thing, like a Freddy Krueger type thing, which makes sense because it comes into your dreams. So that totally makes sense. So I don't know what's the purpose of them? What have you read that what is their purpose? What are they trying to do? Is it trying to kill you? Because if they wanted to kill you, they could, obviously. because you're sleeping, that they're standing over you, and it can't be anything good. So what do you attribute? What do you think is the purpose of it?
I've looked at that too, to see what's going on. Sometimes people have given different reasons depending on the source that you check out, but people have said that they are ghosts, of course, which is
Right.
the most common. People have said that they are possibly demons. People have said that they could be time travelers, which I don't know. A lot of things get attributed to time travelers. Some people say that they could be the MIB, the Men in Black,
But,
because a lot of people who get
but
these
we did an
visions,
episode of the Men in Black. This is different. This is not the same type of thing.
they look different, but they're thinking that because a lot of people who have had alien encounters also have shadow people encounters, and they're saying that maybe the Men in Black are using some type of cloaking device so you can't get a good look at them because they're similar. They're tall. Men in Black are tall. Sometimes they're in a hat. Men in Black are in a hat. They're a dark figure. Men in Black are dark. They're saying that maybe they're trying to cloak themselves so you can't get a really good look at them. I've heard that. Me personally, I think that they are probably ghostly figures, maybe even relatives or people who are somehow attached to you. I had an uncle that they said when I was real little, and I would tell, because like I said, I'm a kid. I would tell my mom and my dad and my grandparents about all of this supernatural stuff because it's not just the shadow people. I experienced a lot of different stuff, but the shadow people, I would tell them about that, and they would tell me that I had an uncle who had passed right about the time that I was born, give or take like months. And he was born. Let me start with this. My grandmother is from Jersey, but she was born in Georgia. So she was a Jersey woman with a Jersey accent, but she had a real kind of a personality. She was Southern. And so she had a lot of Southern ways about her. And one of the things was she said that if you're born with a quote unquote veil on your face, that you have the ability to perceive the supernatural. And I had an uncle who was supposedly born with a veil on your face. It's just the embryonic sac in reality. That's what it is. And if it's intact when they retrieve the child, it's they consider in the South they consider that what's that, a veil on his face? He's considered supernatural. So my uncle was born like that, and he had, according to them, perceptions of supernatural things his entire life. And then when he passed, within months, I was born, according to my family, also with a veil on my face. So they just said that my grandmother, again, being kind of country, said that it had passed from him to me, and I was able to see things that other people couldn't see. So maybe that's a thing. I'm not sure, but for my whole life, I've seen stuff. And that's why when we talk about the other shows, I'm like, yeah, there's stuff out there because I experienced some stuff.
I've read about alien thing possibilities as well. I did see that it's possible that aliens, but again, we've talked about different things in aliens, and I don't know if we've really seen the faceless things with aliens as much. So this seems like a totally different category to me. I don't attribute, maybe, but I don't attribute the same. This seems like it's some weird phenomenon. This with shadow people, and I was watching several videos during the week, leading up to this, doing my research, and like you said, there are other people who've experienced this, and there was this on the History Channel has one where these two women were in it was like a bar type thing, like in a tourist, and they had this shadowy figure almost engulf them, and they screamed and ran out. So there are other people who do report about seeing these shadowy things, and it's the weird thing with this, the scarier thing about this. It's like we've done so many episodes where it's one region, don't go to this one region in your state in the forest there or whatever. Don't go. I don't go to this one section of St. Pete to see these little lights.
Yeah.
Go there because this doesn't help. This doesn't work there. You don't have to like avoid one section. This can be anywhere. That's the problem with this. That's what the scariest thing about this is that this could really be anywhere. I could, like you said, I could see it in my house, but if I move homes, it doesn't mean that it's going to stop. I could still experience the same thing in the next. So and I don't want to jinx this now in any way. I've not experienced things like what you say, and I don't want to experience things like what you say. But you've now experienced it in several places where you moved. So
Every place.
right, every place that you've been, you experienced this.
Even in the service.
So it's definitely something with maybe a person either, that's more sensitive to certain things. And so you said you've experienced a lot of things like supernatural things throughout your life. Like I could probably count on one hand the supernatural things that I've experienced too. And I've experienced some things, and we think we talked about it a little bit, but I'm nowhere near as much as you. I'm nowhere near that. And like, again, I don't want to. I'm glad that I haven't. But that's the creepiest aspect of this, is that this could be anywhere.
It's happened while we've been together, though. We did a show, I remember, like the first or second show we did, and I could hear footsteps directly outside the door.
I remember you saying that, yes.
And during the show, I even call out to see if there's someone there, and I had to get up, and we paused the show because I had to check, because the footsteps sounded, I could hear it, because like where I'm sitting, 2 yards this way is a wall. A couple feet beyond that wall is the stairwell. And I could hear people coming, or at least one person coming up the stairs. And I ignored it at first because I figured, okay, well, someone, other people live here. I'm like, someone's coming up the stairs. But then I heard walking around, and I tried to ignore it. But then finally I had to call out, and nobody answered. And I was like, well, let me just check real quick. And I had to go see, because I heard it. I was positive I heard it. I figured it might have even been maintenance, because sometimes I have a thing where they don't have to wait for a person. They knock once, they wait a minute, and then they can come in, because I'm not always here. Right. So there's not always somebody in the house, but they got to take care of whatever. So maintenance has that. So I figured, well, maybe it's maintenance. Let me just check. But there was nobody, because when I went, I was gone for like maybe 40 seconds, but I ran out. I went down the stairs real quick. I looked. I went to the front door. There's no vehicle. And then I came back upstairs, and I was like, there's nobody there. That happens all the time. I hear footsteps. Stuff gets knocked over, all the time. But be that as is may, we were talking about the shadow people. Yeah, they're everywhere, man, because if you walked up to a group of people and you said, hey, chupacabra, people who were, internet friendly, or people who lived in New Mexico would go,
yes,
right. But people in California would be like, chew some what? They wouldn't know it. If you said Ogopogo, the Loch Ness monster from that region, if you said it, most people wouldn't get it. It's regional. It's in a certain area. But if you say shadow people, 100 years ago, you could talk about them. They would know what you're talking about. You could talk about them from a different continent. They're going to know what you're talking about. Or they're going to have something. The Chickasaw people, they're a group of Native Americans here. And I can't remember the one artist. There's a famous writer. I looked it up, but I can't remember the dude's name. But there's a famous writer who talked about him, and he spoke with him. He talked to him and everything, and they told him about the shadow people, and he thought it was interesting because he personally had experiences with it. He had experiences. I got to look that dude's name up. You know what? If I find his name, it may come across the screen here. But he had talked to the Chickasaw Native Americans. He was talking about something completely different, but that came up, and he was like, "Wow, I've experienced that." And his son was with him. He was like, "Me too." And he's like, "Really? I didn't even know." And he's like, "Well, I just thought it's just a thing. I wouldn't tell you about it. It's just a little spooky thing." And it got to the point that the dude wrote a book about it, and he wrote a chapter about shadow people. He's a popular writer. I just can't. Neil Grease Shadow. What's the Sandman guy? That's the one that's popping in my head. That's the one that's popping in my head, but it's not him.
Not him.
But it's somebody with that level of notoriety. And his son wrote about it. And when the wife saw what they were writing, she told them that she had experienced it, and she wanted the family to visit the Chickasaw area so they could talk to the people. It turned out that the entire family was having experiences, but they just weren't talking to each other because they just kind of brushed it off as, it's a thing. There are so many videos with people setting up cameras and filming it. And again, this is something that we spoke about. I told you that I hear so much stuff. I had bought an extended battery. I was going to set up one of my cameras and have it record downstairs. I did that. And then I took the film, I took the SD card out, poked it into the computer, and I sat there and looked at it. I never hit play. I just stared at it for like a minute. And I was like, I don't think I want to see what's on there. And I deleted it.
Without ever looking.
Without ever looking. I went downstairs, I got the camera. It recorded all night. Got the camera, took the SD card, stuck it in the computer. I was going to go through it and everything. And I sat there and I just looked at it. And I was like, I know there's something on there. I know it. And I don't want to see it.
I might be with you. I'm not sure if I want to see it either. But
yeah, so I just hit the delete button and I just got rid of it. I couldn't do it.
Now, first of all, I got to tell you that if we ever are doing a podcast together and I see like a shadow person walking behind you, leaning over you, that's going to be the last time. That'll be our last episode. I'm just going to tell you this now because I don't want any part of any of this over here.
It would suck because it would probably follow you home. That's
exactly what I'm worried about there too. Like I said, this to me was one of the creepiest things that we've done so far. Out of all the things, we've done some creepy ones for sure, but this is one of the creepiest one just because to me it could be happen anywhere. It could happen anywhere, and also all the things that I've read, there are other people who have experienced this now. You've experienced this. You said I've read about other people experiencing this, and it's just such a scary phenomenon to me that you just see this dark mass of a figure, like it's in a human shape, but just expressionless, not being able to say anything, or it could say something, but it doesn't. But it's a scary thing to me. And like I said, I remember that little video that I talked about before earlier. That little video creeped me out because I thought that was such a scary little thing to me, and it plays upon your fears because we're all scared of the dark to some capacity because we can't see, we don't know what's out there, and this just fits right into that. We're scared of the dark, and this is a dark figure, so it's like you don't know. So I definitely think this is one of the creepier ones. So I'm not even going to ask. Normally we ask, do you believe in it? So I don't even have to ask that because you've already said it. You experienced it there too. Yeah, like I said, I can't even say whether I believe or not because you've already said that you've experienced it. I don't want to say I don't believe because I'm just happy that I haven't experienced it yet. And I hate even using the yet. I don't want to experience, but it is such a creepy thing to me. So yeah, this was a weird one for me.
Yeah, this one, it happens all, like I said, just a couple of days ago. It's all of the time. If I close my blinds right now and turn the lights out and I sat here for 20 minutes, I'm sure I would see something. It never ends. It never ends.
I don't know how you sleep. And first of all, terrible of you. I mean, you gave this vision on to your son. You passed this on down to another generation. Yeah. I feel bad for him. What?
Yeah, because he definitely sees stuff. I mean, I'm in the bedroom watching TV, and I hear, and I know it's him running past the hallway to get away from the hallway because he won't. Even if I'm standing in the hallway with him and I'm talking to him, hey, you got your clothes ready for tomorrow? And I'm standing there, he's like, can we talk in the room? He's scared of the hallway.
Well, let me ask you, anyone else did your brother have this?
Yeah. My brother had it, but he was not the type of person to talk about it. He was, I'm trying to say this because he's passed. I'm trying to say this in a way that would not be bad. He was a street level person.
Okay.
So he didn't talk about that kind of stuff that much because it wasn't, it wasn't macho or whatever.
Right.
So that was his thing. But he's mentioned it throughout the years. He's mentioned that, he's seen stuff like
So it's your family. So it's not just you. So it's your family has this going through.
Yeah, starting with at least my uncle, who would have been like my mom's age,
Right.
at least with him, maybe even further back, but definitely with him. And my grandmother attributed it to that whole being born with a veil thing. That back then, I had to actually go to a library. We didn't have the internet. I had to go to the library and look that stuff up and find out what that was all about. But it was a thing where they think that allows one to perceive the supernatural. So he had it, and whenever he would say stuff, they just were like, "Oh, okay, well, he said it. It probably did. He's ghosts all over the place." So stuff like that. And then when I was born, it happened, and then so I get with my brother, and I'm not sure specifically because of him or because he was in the same area as me at the same time, and it just latched on, because some things have the ability to latch on, like a haunting can happen to a house, a person, a particular object. You have that cursed item, you pass it, somebody else, they're cursed, so that could happen. So supernatural things have the ability to latch on. So it could have been through me that it latched on to people close to me, like my son, unfortunately, because I was there when he was born. He didn't have a veil on his face. So it could just be, and my wife, I wasn't there when she was born, but she said she never saw or heard anything until we were living together. And then she started.
She must love you.
Yeah.
I think we got this one covered, but this, like I said, this is a creepy one. But let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you've experienced it, what you think it is, and if you would ever stay at Troy's house. Again, this has been Nightmares Before Bed. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Troy Cannon, and please like, comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Thank you for watching Nightmares Before Bed. And now, it's time to shut the lights, close your eyes, and go to sleep. If you can.